Hi, my name is Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. As the title suggests, today we're not going to have one of my cheerful, weird and questionable story times, but we're going to talk about something a little bit more serious. But I just wanted to share this with you because it's been an interesting time for me. As I mentioned in a few videos that I will link here, for those of you who don't know, I've had what seems to be pneumonia for now 2 months. It's the 10th of September today when I'm filming, and I started being sick on the 7th of July. It's been 2 full months. I'm now officially on the mend, but just about. So it's been a terrible and horrific summer. I basically missed this whole summer. I did go on holiday, as you can see over here. I actually did 4 little holidays while I was sick, but it really did affect my life. And before we start, well, first of all, it would be great if you could like this video, subscribe, and also leave a comment about what I'm about to talk to you about. But I also want to say this. Now, I understand that I only have pneumonia and I am on the mend. Now, I was in a lot of physical pain, which is where this whole video stems from, and that's what I want to talk about. And it did affect me mentally and emotionally because of the pain and because of not knowing what was going to happen, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that too. But I also understand that I am out of the woods. I'm not trying to claim that I know what people with really serious ailments, with chronic diseases, with lifelong diseases go through. I'm not claiming to know that. These 2 months have been horrific for me. They have had a really bad effect on me, and I just want to share these thoughts that I've had over the past 2 months. But again, I am not trying to say that I'm a survivor and that I know what real pain and real problems feel like. So for anyone with such ailments and diseases and illnesses and problems, please don't feel like I'm trying to downplay your pain by talking about my simple pneumonia. And now let's get started. So, just in case you don't know, because you might be new to this channel, I went back. I'm originally from Italy. I went back home on the 7th of July, and that's to spend 10 days with my mum at the seaside, and that's when everything started. So I think I went back home on the Sunday, and then on Sunday evening we went to the seaside, and on Monday I slept, I would say, 14 hours. I just could not get out of bed, and I have sleep problems, so for me it's quite unusual to sleep that long, and I just couldn't get out of bed. So I don't think I even went to the beach at all that day. And because I have sleep problems, I'm not one of those people who can wake up at noon and then go back to bed at 9 just because they're tired. My body doesn't allow me to do that. Well, it did that week. I think I went to bed at 10 and I fell asleep again, and I woke up like at noon the day after, something like that, and then I started coughing. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't drink soft drinks. I only drink peach iced tea and tap water. I sounded like a chain smoker who was about to die. I sounded rotten inside. It was insane. It wasn't painful. It didn't really affect my life. It was the tiredness that killed me. But by Thursday, I got better in terms of being alive. And because I'd worked a lot the month prior to this holiday, because I'm a singing drag queen and it was Pride Month, so I was very busy with that. I was very busy with the channel. I just thought I had to sleep it all off because I hadn't really had much of a chance to sleep at all. So apart from the cough, I thought the tiredness was normal. Then we went to a pharmacy to get something, but obviously it was over the counter. It wasn't anything intense or serious enough. Also, yes, it wasn't. Yeah, I didn't go to a GP because also I was in Italy, and I was at the seaside. Then when I got home on the 16th of July, that was a Tuesday, in the evening, I thought I was going to die. I had a terrible fever. I had cold sweats, hot sweats, all sorts of sweats, and I genuinely thought I was going to die. Then I somehow managed to fall asleep, and the day after I was feeling much better already, still with a cough, but much better. So I started living my life again. So I started going for my walks, I started working out again, but then by Saturday I just wasn't feeling it anymore. I wasn't myself. Then on Monday, so the problem here was that I wasn't really treated properly. It was very hard for me to get a hold of a GP at all. I never saw a GP. I only got phone appointments. So on the Monday I called my GP, and based on my symptoms they gave me antibiotics. I started taking them, and I started feeling better. The cough was still there, and then they told me that if the cough hadn't gone by the time I'd finished my antibiotics, I should call them again, which I did. But then, because they were so understaffed, they told me that the next phone appointment available was on a Saturday, so I had to survive another week. And said, okay, well, there's nothing else I can do, so I'll take that appointment. During that week, after the antibiotics, I started feeling better, so I was better. So that's when I filmed all the videos that you saw before I came back. I filmed 8 videos in preparation for my holidays in August. And then so I was okay for 3 days, the cough was still there, but then I started performing. I'm a drag queen, so I performed on Wednesday night, and on Thursday afternoon I came down with a fever on top of the cough. Then I had to perform again on Thursday, and then I had to perform again on Friday and on Saturday, and all of those days I had a fever. Now I was getting really worried because, again, the cough, although obviously you shouldn't cough that much, my problem was the fever, because it was knocking me out and I was not functional as a human being. I couldn't really do anything. Again, I tried to get hold of a GP, nothing really happened, and I got to the point where I was getting desperate, because on the 9th of August I was supposed to meet my family in Barcelona. We were supposed to spend a couple of days in Barcelona together, and then from Barcelona I was supposed to go on my gay cruise. And then after my gay cruise for 10 days I went to Manchester Pride. So I was getting desperate about that, and also I'd lost my appetite. I could barely eat, and I could only eat very sweet things, and I kept having a fever. Luckily I could perform if I took ibuprofen, which I had to do because I need to make money. But other than that, I never left the house. I never even worked. I barely edited my videos. I didn't do anything else because I was literally living to fight another day, and I kept getting worse and worse and worse. I even went to A&E. I was desperate. I did get a chest x-ray through my doctor, which confirmed a chest infection, but no further tests were conducted. And the doctor at the A&E said, well, yes, that's one thing that contributed to this whole emotional decline for me. It was the fact that I didn't feel listened to by doctors because I couldn't get a physical appointment. It was all done over the phone. And at A&E, so I was just, after the antibiotics, I was just told to wait and wait and wait. And also I was also told that maybe after this first chest infection, I may have caught a second little infection that was giving me the fever. Because of the first 2 weeks, even when I was at the seaside, I did not have a fever. So I just had to wait it out. And at A&E, the doctor, I was desperate, and the doctor just looked at me and said, so what do you expect to come out of this meeting? And I said, well, I'm desperate, I'm in pain, and I can't function, so you tell me. I'm not the doctor here. So yes, again, he just told me that I had to wait, I had to take ibuprofen if my fever kept coming back. And don't get me wrong, if that is the course of action that you need to take to treat this, it's fine. I mean, I want to believe the doctors, but I didn't like the way I was treated, or the way I was left untreated. And I realised this. I'm a scientist at heart, and I understand that. So I'm fascinated by medicine and all that, and if I were a doctor, I think I would like to be potentially dealing with patients would be boring for me, because I want to work on the science of it. So I understand that not every doctor wants that physical and personal contact, like House, the TV series, but then he has the decency not to want to meet patients because he knows that he can't really deal with them. But so I understand the frustration that someone who has knowledge about a topic has when they have to deal with ignorant people. But at the same time, I am a teacher and I deal with people that don't know much about my topic, which is English. I teach English as a foreign language. So as a teacher, I don't appreciate the way they treated me, because if they choose to be that kind of doctor, if they choose to be a GP, or if they choose to work in A&E, well, you will deal with patients, so you need to have some kind of humanity and some kind of interest in explaining things to me. Another thing that I realised is that they all treated me like I was a doctor. So they said, even when I did my first chest x-ray, I got the result via text simply saying that there was a sign of there were signs of an ongoing or healing infection, and that was it. So that, I don't really know how it works in other countries, but I would say in Italy, where I'm from, maybe I think the doctor would physically either see you or call you to explain the situation. Here, I just had to assume. I mean, I knew that I had a chest infection. I didn't need a chest x-ray to confirm it. But then I thought, okay, well, maybe it's not that bad if they don't want me to go back in to be examined again. It must be, a normal infection. But yes, and then I did another. So back to the A&E guy. Yeah, he said, oh, you might have this, you might have that. I see from your chest x-ray that you have an infection. So yeah, you just have to wait. What do you expect? I'm like, well, it's not just a chest infection. I was there primarily for the fever that was killing me. And again, if he'd taken the time to treat me a little bit better, first of all, he never even touched me. He didn't listen to my lungs. He didn't do anything to me as a doctor, but also the way he just dismissed me. And he also said that A&E was not the best place for me to go, and I said, I know, which is why I didn't actually want to go, because there are bigger emergencies in A&E. And he said, I know, but I am desperate. And from my record, he can see that I don't go to the doctors every day to get new drugs, because again, and that's another thing, I don't take anything that alters my mental state, so no drugs, no alcohol or anything like that. But the way they sort of forced me to chase doctors and to chase a bit of help made me feel like they thought I was an addict and I was just there to get drugs, and that's not what I wanted. I mean, if he'd told me, I don't know, to cure this, drink ginger, I would have done it. It's not that I wanted drugs, I just wanted some kind of comfort, first of all, as a person, and some solutions. But anyway, I then was supposed to go to Barcelona, and I told my mum, look, I'm not actually sure I can come to Barcelona because I am too sick. But then after A&E, for one reason or another, I started feeling better. So the Friday the 9th of August, I did go to Barcelona, and it was awful because I started feeling even worse. Yes, it ruined my holiday, as you can see here in the video that I made about the holiday. And I kept getting worse, and we didn't really know what to do. And this is another thing. After I went to A&E, right before going to Barcelona, I managed to have another phone appointment with another GP. And again, I told him, look, I am desperate. This is my situation. Is there anything I can do? Now, I'd already done a cycle of antibiotics a couple of weeks before that, and he said, look, I will prescribe you another cycle of antibiotics. It's better if you don't take them, obviously, so don't unless you're really, really desperate. Here they are, because you're going on holiday and there's not much that you can do about it. Now, yes, I felt listened to by the doctor. And again, I wasn't after antibiotics per se, I was just after some kind of solution. And we're all taught and we all know that you shouldn't abuse antibiotics. Obviously they need to be prescribed, and you can't take them, you can't do one cycle after another just for the fun of it. So I was a bit surprised when he prescribed me another round of antibiotics 2 weeks after the first one. But again, under the circumstances that I created, such as the holiday, I could see that maybe, there was nothing else that he could do. But I even for a second thought, is he legally allowed to do this? I don't know. So I bought the antibiotics, but I was adamant that I wasn't going to take them because, again, I didn't want to. I was terrified of what it might do to my body, because we're all taught that it's bad. So when I went to Barcelona, I could still barely eat, and when I did, that's when I started feeling sick. And yes, it was awful, and I kept telling my mum that I didn't want to take those antibiotics, and I never did. And then when my family left, I then stayed at a friend's house before going to the cruise, and the sister-in-law of my friend is a doctor, and when I explained to her what was happening and the fact that nobody had ever really done anything to me medically, she said that they should have at least done a blood test and they should go to A&E to get it done. So I went to A&E in Barcelona. They told me that I was getting better, so no, they didn't even draw a drop of blood, and I just had to wait it out. Then I went on the cruise, and the coughing on the cruise, the fever went, and I only had the cough. Now, I was happy because the cough does impact my life, but not that much. But I got to the point where I was coughing so much that my kidneys were hurting. But then after a while that went. But then towards the end of the cruise, the pain moved to my lungs, so every time I coughed, I felt like my lungs were going to explode. And that really killed me. And that had already been a month, basically, of being sick. Then I went to Manchester. That was even worse, because after Manchester, the pain that was only there when I was coughing became permanent. So all around my rib cage, I felt constant pain, and when I coughed, that's when the mentally challenging pain started. When I coughed, I felt like my heart was exploding and that my ribs were going to pierce my heart. Obviously, this is very dramatic, I know, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know if this is possible or not. It might be. And also, even before this, actually before the first chest x-ray, I started thinking all sorts of negative thoughts. I thought it might be cancer, like lung cancer. What do I know? I'm not a doctor. And when I tell people this, they say I'm a bit dramatic, but why couldn't it be cancer? I mean, we hear thousands of stories of people that have pain in their ear and then it turns out they have brain cancer. So why can it happen to them but not to me? I mean, I don't know what the symptoms of lung cancer are, but this debilitating cough sounds like it could be a sign. Luckily it wasn't cancer. And because again I was left on my own, I was actually I felt abandoned by the NHS, the National Healthcare System. And then, so yes, the pain became permanent, and it was like searing pain, and I was terrified. I'd already started being terrified of coughing because of the pain that I got only when I coughed, but now because it was around my heart, I was petrified. I was absolutely dreading coughing, and I knew that I was going to cough a lot, and I could feel it coming up. It was happening, and I always had to brace myself physically and mentally. I tried all sorts of positions to make sure that it wouldn't hurt as much. But yeah, yes, it was bad, and I managed to talk to another doctor a couple of weeks ago, and he prescribed me another round of antibiotics. So I took the antibiotics, the second round of antibiotics that I never took, and now I am better. Because I am better. I still have a bit of a cough, but the cough is going. And then on the cruise, I even caught a cold. And so yes, for the past 3 weeks, I've been covered in snot. But now it is definitely getting better. So I am on the mend. The problem is also that I am a singing drag queen. Luckily it hasn't affected my performances, so I can perform if I take ibuprofen because it stops my coughing. But obviously I haven't been able to practice my singing, so my voice is not the best, but it hasn't affected my voice. I'm just out of practice. Now, this is a long intro to the emotional side of things. This is just physical, but I really wanted to make a point of how I got better, then worse, and worse, and worse, and worse constantly, because I think what really got to me was the fact that I didn't know what was happening. And yes, I did feel abandoned, and even this last doctor, he said, I think you have a little bit of pneumonia, you might have had pneumonia, and you might have a little bit of it still left in your lungs after 2 months. Everyone told me that the cough could last 3 months, so he said the cough is the last one to go. But obviously you're in pain and all of that, so we need to make sure it's all clear there. And then he mentioned that I might have a bit of something, which is the name of a condition, and he just very briefly explained it to me, and I only understood what it meant because of the internet. All doctors tell us not to use the internet, but it's only thanks to that this condition had already come up on my search, so I understood what it meant. It's like a membrane around your lungs gets inflamed because of all the excessive coughing. And he prescribed me another chest x-ray, and I did it, and that's again when I felt like they treated me like a doctor, because the result, which was given to me over the phone, as a text over the phone, was that there was no clear sign of infection, which is good. Only my lungs were a bit swollen, too big. Now, again, I don't know what that means. Now, as an ignorant patient, I again assumed that whatever it was, it was abnormal. Your lungs shouldn't be that big, but it's not dangerous or critical enough for the hospital to want me to go back in, so I took that as a positive. But the fact that I was never told anything, or the fact that nobody ever explained to me what swollen lungs are, if I should be worried about it, it almost felt like they knew that I was a doctor, so they knew they just needed to tell me that my lungs were inflated, so I would know what that meant. But I don't. So I made this whole conjecture in my head whereby the reason why it felt like my heart was exploding, it wasn't that the ribs were damaged, because I got to the point where I thought that my ribs had been damaged by the relentless coughing, but maybe it was just the lungs that were inflamed, so they pushed against the rib cage, and now I don't feel that pain anymore because I'm getting better and my lungs are going back to their normal size. But again, this is just the ignorant idea of a drag queen. So I felt like I should have been told a few more things, and I should have been reassured a little bit more. So yes, that really got to me. And also, especially when I started getting a fever, I could see that I was getting worse and worse and worse, and there was no end to it. There was no light at the end of the tunnel, and that really got me psychologically, because for 2 months I literally lived to fight another day, and I wasn't sure I was going to make it. And up until the fever started, I wasn't in any pain, but again, knowing that it was everything, whatever it was getting worse and worse and worse, then again, I never had a blood test. I think it's pneumonia because the doctor told me it might have been, and also because, again, through the internet, I had every single symptom. Now, I don't even know if you can test, if you can see whether it's pneumonia or bronchitis or another specific disease. I don't know if you can do that, but it turns out there are ways to at least confirm something. You can do a blood test. You can test the sputum, but I wasn't given any of these apart from the chest x-ray that confirmed something that I already knew. I didn't need a chest x-ray to confirm I had a chest infection. As ignorant as I am, I can tell you that I have something in my lungs. I can feel it. So yes, it was the not knowing, and again, if you just tell me to wait it out, because that's the only thing that there is to do, like a cold, yeah, what can I do to a cold? I can drink ginger tea just to, help myself a little bit, but we know that we just have to wait it out. And if a doctor tells me to just wait it out, I believe them. I'm a scientist at heart too, but they should have explained it a little bit better. They should have welcomed me a little bit better. Yes, that also got to me. And even before the pain started, I lost all sense of purpose, because again, I was just a machine. I was just a body trying to survive. I had, and I still am, completely empty emotionally from all the distress and the anguish caused by the pain, primarily, that I went through. To this day, I don't know what it means to make plans with friends. because I'm not used to that anymore. I don't understand what it means. Yeah, to think about. I'm already thinking about Christmas. I've already booked my tickets to go back home, but it feels like something that I shouldn't even be considering, because that means that is something that someone with a normal life, with a purpose in life, does. But I've lost all sense of purpose. I've lost all sense of being part of this life, because again, I've lost all my humanity. Yes, that's a problem. Now I am a machine trying to survive. I eat now that I can without feeling sick, and then I just stay home. Even now I'm much better, but I don't leave the house unless it's to perform, because first of all, I want to be perfectly healed and healthy, and also I am terrified of getting sick again, because my body is still weak, obviously. And yes, weirdly, it's almost blissful to know that you can't make plans because you're too weak to do anything. So yes, I don't have to try and meet friends. I don't have to try to make time for them. I don't have to try to find the right day that works for both of us. I don't have to try and juggle different people and different events and different commitments around, because I don't have any. So there is some kind of peace in that, I have to say, which now scares me. Now that I can feel that I am on the mend, I'm scared of getting back into a routine. So today's my first day of filming, and for the past 2 weeks I've done a lot of computer work. I've done a lot of admin, a lot of things around the house that I never get the time to do, but no plans. I have some things that I really need to do. I might have to go back to teaching, because my drag is not fully supporting me financially at the moment, and I have the whole idea of how to make it happen, but I haven't been able to do it because I've been too sick. And also at the moment I can't really, well, maybe today, from today I can, but I can't really talk. Now I'm just whispering and I'm not being interactive, but I couldn't, if I teach online, I have to interact with a human being, and I don't think I can sustain that physically without coughing still. So yes, I am looking forward to feeling something when I go back to all of these things, but right now that I'm still completely numb and empty, I am a bit scared. And that's basically what happened. This illness completely drained me and gutted me emotionally like a fish. I don't feel anything. I don't have any, apart from pain, I don't have any emotions, I don't have any feelings, I don't have any joy, because I don't understand what these things mean anymore. And when the pain started, that became even worse. I mean, pain, I'd never experienced pain. I mean, if you hurt your finger, it's painful for 2 seconds, but that was it. I'd never experienced pain like that, which again is nothing compared to God knows what other people go through when they have serious conditions. But the pain from the coughing and around my chest was insane. It was debilitating, because I couldn't, it really froze me up. And the fear of coughing, that is something that I'd never experienced. And even though I knew that it was going to go away, when you're there suffering, it brings you no joy, and you can't actually think of it as going away soon. And I thought that, well, even after the fever went away and then I started feeling pain, yes, I could be, especially if I take ibuprofen, I am functional as a human being. I can go about my daily business, but there is no joy, there is no meaning to what I do. And if the doctors told me, look, the pain that you have now will not go away, it won't get worse, but it's chronic pain that you need to learn to live with. It's not going to go away. We can make sure that it doesn't get worse with painkillers or whatever. Well, I can tell you that it wouldn't be a life worth living. That's one of the first thoughts that I had when my pain around my chest became permanent, and then when it became searingly painful when I coughed. I thought to myself, I couldn't live like this, knowing that it would never go away. And don't get me wrong, I can take ibuprofen, but even when I did take ibuprofen, the pain didn't go away. It was less intense, but I could still feel it. And also, I got to the point where I didn't want to take ibuprofen, not only because I don't like drugs in general, but also because I thought, especially because it was around my heart, and also, for the record, my GP told me that it's physically impossible for a rib to pierce your heart, so I should, rest assured that will not happen. So I'm happy that he told me that, at least, because I was genuinely worried about that. But what did I want to say? Oh, bugger, I've forgotten. Yes, I could take ibuprofen, but another reason why I didn't want to take it was that, let's say, at the time I still thought my ribs could pierce my heart, or even my lung. It's still not the best situation to find yourself in. I thought, if I take ibuprofen, I won't actually feel the gravity of what is happening here. So let's say my ribs can pierce my heart or lung. If I'm not on ibuprofen, I can feel the pain getting worse, or maybe something moving inside me, so then I can at least go to A&E. But if I am on ibuprofen, I may not be able to feel that intensity of pain, so maybe I could just be sitting at home causing myself to, maybe my ribs are getting closer to my lungs or my heart, and I wouldn't even notice, so I wouldn't be alert enough to spot and to detect a very dangerous situation. So you start thinking all these crazy thoughts because you don't know what's happening. You don't have a doctor. Even if I'd had a good doctor from the very beginning, obviously they're not there with you every time you cough to say, don't worry, nothing's happening. So yes, a life like that is not worth living, because again, even if you can go about your business, there is no joy. Yes, I could perform, and I love performing. It's the fuel of my life, but then I would always be worried that I would cough halfway through my show, which I always did, but I could make a joke out of it, but if I start coughing too much, that would stop me from being able to perform properly. And also, I always know that when the ibuprofen wears off, I would be in pain again. So it's no. And that got me thinking about, so I can only imagine how people that are in constant, incurable pain must feel. And sometimes you don't even see it. If you look at me, I can walk, there was a time where I couldn't really, because even just walking would cause my ribs to move, and it was agony. But I am self-sufficient. So if you just look at me, you would never be able to tell that I am in absolute agony. And that got me thinking about my mum as well. Now, my mum unfortunately is very sick. She has been for a very long time. She has a very rare disease on top of all sorts of other diseases, and she's turning 60 this year, and she's been in pain for 28 of them at least. Primarily it's her mouth. She has this rare fungus that can turn into cancer, but it's extremely rare, so they don't really know what to do with it, and this causes her to have pain all around her mouth, to the point where even breathing hurts her, because when the air brushes against her flesh, it hurts. And she can barely eat. Because of that, also her disease affected her teeth. But having anything in her mouth hurts her. And that's just the beginning of all her problems. And yes, I don't know how she does it, and I felt for her a lot even before I was sick, obviously, but now that I know what a fraction of that pain can feel like, I really don't know how she does it. It must be terrible. And again, it's not just the fact that it's not about whether you can physically go about your day, which she does. I mean, she still works in a nursery with 30 children between the ages of 3 and 5. She loves it. She's the most active in a group of friends. She's more active than my friends from back home. I'd rather spend New Year's Eve with her because she goes out than my friends who just spend the whole night at home cooking. So if you saw her, you would, apart from the fact that she's beyond anorexic because she physically can't eat, you would never guess that she's so sick. I mean, she must be rotten inside, bless her. And yeah, it must be horrible. And I don't know if this has ever happened to anyone of you. If you know someone who is in pain, luckily I am, well, apart from this little pneumonia incident, I am very healthy, luckily. So again, I never get a headache or anything like that, just the odd pneumonia every now and then. And because, well, obviously I don't understand what kind of pain my mum is in, but sometimes I dream of being her and of being in pain, and while I'm dreaming and while I'm sleeping, I can feel myself crying in real life, and then I wake up in tears, feeling the pain that I think she feels. Luckily it falls away as soon as I wake up, but then when I realise it's all a dream, and when I realise the pain is gone, I cry even more, because I know that she keeps that pain. And the pain that I felt in the dream is just my imaginary pain, because I obviously don't know if that matches the pain that she feels, and that's only in her mouth, but she has pain everywhere else for all sorts of other reasons. So, again, I don't know if you've ever dreamt the pain of someone close to you. It's very bizarre. I didn't think it was even possible. But yes. So now that I am on the mend, again, I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. I am excited, but again, fairly empty still. I still feel like an empty shell, like a husk of a man. Right now, I wouldn't, if I met the man of my dreams, I wouldn't have anything to give him, because I'm just empty. I am so traumatized by literally trying to survive, that I have nothing else to give. I literally still am in, that kind of frame of mind of living to fight another day. And although, for example, now I could potentially go out and meet friends, as I said before, I'm too scared of getting sick again, so I will give it another week, especially this weekend. I have to go all the way to Cardiff to perform, so I'm terrified, and I need to be able to practice singing, because at the moment, if I sing and I don't take ibuprofen, I still cough too much, and I don't want to take too much ibuprofen at home just to practice my singing. So this was supposed to be a fairly short video, but here we are again, 50 minutes in. If you've experienced anything like this, or if you know of anyone that is going through what I went through, or even worse, because again, I do understand that I am lucky that I am out of the woods now, and even if my lungs were so damaged that I would have to keep this little cough that you've seen, I can live with that as long as there is no pain. It's pain that kills you. And actually, I forgot to say this very randomly. I'm watching a series on Disney Plus called Dopesick, which is based on a true story of a big pharmaceutical company back in America back in the year 2000, who produced a new painkiller that supposedly was not addictive, but then it turned out to be addictive, and a lot of people became addicted, and people started using it as a drug as well, like as a recreational drug. And it's weird to see what pain can make people do. Now, if you take it as a recreational drug, obviously there is no pain involved, but it's obscene to see what people are willing to do to get rid of pain. And now that I've been through it, and again, in a very small fraction of what true pain must feel like, I can understand it. I can understand it 100%. Because again, it's either whatever drug can help you, or pain that makes your life not worth living. That was the most shocking thing that I took away from this whole experience. And now, let me know, again, if you have ever gone through anything like this, if you're still going through it, if you know anyone who's in the same situation. Let me know if you've ever had these thoughts, when you felt like this. And yes, we will go back to something a bit less dramatic next time. In the meantime, I will leave you with a lot of food for thought, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.